The podcast is brought to you by Think and Grow Business, the home of the Think and Grow Business Mastermind. If you're serious about growing your business, get serious and join a mastermind group today. Find out more at thinkandgrowbusiness.com.au.
Hey there, it's Coach Curl here, and welcome to episode 259 of the Today's Leader podcast. This episode features the journey of Robert Kittridge. Now, I've known Robert when I first joined the John Maxwell team, and he was part of what I would call the welcoming committee that makes that team just so special. Now, when I first met Robert, we called him Bob, and as part of his journey, he now is known as Robert. Now, he's been on this journey of self-discovery, and during that time has created his true inner alignment. His word of the year is focus, and I believe that that will become absolutely evident during the conversation. So just who is Robert Kittridge? Robert is the founder of Focus Point Solution, a leadership and development consultant group that equips leaders, individuals, senior leaders, thought leaders, and organizations with the high-powered or high-performance solutions to ensure their continuous improvement in personal growth and, of course, their business results. He utilizes discovery coaching to uncover and release those things we know as limiting beliefs. He empowers his clients to obtain reliable, predictable, and repeatable results in line with their passion and purpose. So he is a truly an authentic, passionate, encouraging style of coach, and he really does help people raise their level of awareness so that they can visualize and achieve what is known as what they want as their next level of success. Please welcome to the podcast, Robert Kittridge.
Way to go, guys. Way to go. Keep it going. Good job, guys. All right, Paul, I see you. All right, finish on. Coach Carl.
And it's my pleasure to welcome to the Today's Leader podcast. I have Robert Kittridge. Robert, how are you?
I am absolutely fabulous today. It's a great day.
It's a fantastic day. Actually, we're talking on the day the US votes, and I know that we had a little bit of a chat offhand. And, you know, at the end of the day, I love that attitude that you've got with that is no matter what happens, it's not necessarily going to affect me by too much. And I love that. Robert, tell me a little bit about the Robert Kittridge story.
Oh my gosh. How long did you say this podcast was?
Well,
I'll give you the Reader's Digest version.
Yep.
You know, I've been on a journey of self-discovery and personal growth since about 1982. And that started in the back of a police car. And it wasn't anything bad. It really wasn't. But, somebody that cared about me that I didn't really realize gave me a book called The Magic Power of the Mind. And that's where I started studying human behavior, those kind of things, really with the almost the desire for me to be better. And I have been on a personal growth journey. I have spent, oh my God, I don't want to add up how many dollars and hours and time that I've spent in programs and reading and, those kind of things to become a better leader, to become a better person. And I'll tell you, today, I understand it's all been there the whole time.
excellent.
I just had all kinds of stuff standing in the way, conditioning, programming, doubts, fears, limiting beliefs, all of that stuff that stood in the way of me being who I truly am and designed. And that's who I am today. That's the discovery process has uncovered over the last 6 months for me, this who I am designed. And I'll use the term God, and some of your listeners may use God, some may use Buddha, may use whatever. But it's how we're designed to be by the universe. And it's been fun. It's just been an amazing transformational journey. And in the talk, before we were talking, I said that I understand today when God says, heaven on earth, we can have heaven on earth. I understand what that is because I am living it. So your question about am I concerned about that? Yeah, sure, I'm concerned about it.
Yeah.
But I really know that no matter what happens, I'm going to respond to it for me, not how society and not how all that. So whether, someone's going to win, someone's going to lose, right? So, you have to. We have a political election. Someone's going to win, somebody's going to lose. There were people that's going to be mad. There's going to be people that are going to be glad. For me, I'm just going to keep moving.
Yeah.
Now, my business may change a little bit or process may change a little bit, those kind of things. But for me, it's not going to make a big difference.
So Robert, in respect of, so we met through the John Maxwell team initially, and we're both members within that group, and John provides some great content. What area? So you run Focus Point Solutions, and what area do you focus in with when you're working with clients?
Well, the majority of my coaching, has been on what John has taught us, leadership development, has been content-based in some cases. But what I'm learning in the past 6 months, and this is one of the reasons that I've stepped away now from the John Maxwell team, and I don't know if I'll go back. I don't know. It's a great program. It has been transformational for me. John has great content, everything, is that when you live in alignment with who you are, it's called inner authority.
Yeah.
And in today's world, this election, those kind of things, is most people operate out of outer authority. So tell me, Tony, what should I do? Here's my deal. What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? Versus feeling into and really knowing what's right for me and making those decisions. Now, that doesn't mean I can't get outside counsel or I can't get, but so many people have no clue because of the conditioning we've been through. So I am now pivoting, and this all gets to answer your question, is really my coaching is going to focus on helping my clients really discover that inner truth, who they're designed to be, and then live within that. Now, I've already been doing that somewhat, kind of blindly. My coaching practice has been centered in that with most of my coaching clients. Truly asking questions, their agenda. I don't do much teaching. I don't do much that kind of thing with my clients. So it's really not pivoting much. It's just now going to be more focused.
Okay. So hence the Focus Solutions. It's
it was interesting because December of last year, right, I was going through a really tumultuous time in my life, big transition. And John teaches us, right, have a word for next year. Have a word to center yourself on. And so I'm like, okay, all right, I got to have a word. Okay, what's my word? I'm thinking, and nothing would come in. I'm like, God, I got to focus. And I'm like, pretty soon I'm like, oh, that's the word, isn't it? Because I'll tell you, I've bought every program. I participated in every program. I bought licensing to programs. And I have yet to focus on, and that's why my business had been stuck because it was a shotgun kind of thing. So thus formed Focus Point Solution.
And that's a great story to share in relation to getting that focus. And I see that a lot with consultants that they're always looking for what's next, and they haven't really bedded down what they do now. So it's interesting when you talk about that internal dialogue, that internal message, because often, most people get motivated by the external. They get motivated by the guy or the girl that walks up Everest and comes back down and saves 3 people on the way down, or, goes through those tales of adversity. And yet they've got that motivational, they've got those stories within them now, but they don't look internal, they look external. And therefore they only get this short burst of motivation saying, I'm so inspired by whoever. And then they don't get that sustainability in respect of their actions and their behaviors.
Well, let's take what you said. Motivation, inspiration.
Yep.
Right? We've learned this. Motivation is externally. Inspiration is internally.
Yeah.
If I have to find, and John has taught, how many times have you ever heard that? He's been asked, how do I motivate my people? Well, you hire motivated people.
Yeah.
You can't motivate people.
Yeah.
Now, the only way that that happens is if you can find them to be inspired, and that comes from within.
Yeah.
Inspiration, inspired. That's operating within our true self and being. And it's interesting, the community that I'm now kind of associated with, and is that those folks are inspired. They're making changes in the world, and they don't need to get on a call in the morning to be motivated to do it.
Yeah.
They're because they know who they are, and they're operating in line with who they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when we become inspired.
Absolutely powerful, Robert. Absolutely powerful. So tell me, talking about inspiration, who's inspired you in your leadership journey?
Oh, so many. I mean, so many. Of course, John, right? John Maxwell is very inspiring. But as I've gone through this journey over the last year, some of the folks, and I've been able to remember things that I had suppressed, past memories, kid memories. I mean, because I had a pretty dysfunctional, I don't know what you want to call it, but childhood, and I didn't remember a bunch of it. So some of the work I've done has been bringing those memories up.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, some of the ones that have really inspired me are people that have made an everyday difference in me. My great uncle Al was somebody that, at the time I absolutely hated. He had a farm in eastern Colorado here in the United States. And my mom would send me there because I was a troubled teenager. And, if you've ever lived on a farm, right, there's not much sleeping in bed till noon. There's not much.
Yeah.
And I look back now where I am today, my work ethic came from him. It really was. And it wasn't motivated. I'm really inspired by that. It's an inside thing. And that's a great question. Who is, and I've read tons of leaders' books and tons of, I love Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
Right? I love his quiet leadership, but boy, no BS when it's time, that kind of thing. And if you think about it, and John says this, leadership is influence.
Yeah.
There are so many people today, and I just coached a TEDx, some TEDx speakers for TEDx Breckenridge a couple of weeks ago. And I had the most inspiring speakers. I had two 18-year-old twins. Their speech was about intergenerational connecting. That's inspiring.
Yeah.
Right? Kids today that are saying we need to honor those in our life that have gone before us, and we need to connect with them.
Excellent.
One of the speakers was gay, lesbian, and she has come out and she has lived it, but there was still this part of her she still never has let go of and let fly.
Yeah.
And I remember in the first part of our speaking, and I finally said, I just, you know me, right, Tony? I don't usually take a lot of BS either. I said, what do you really want to say here?
Yeah.
And she almost broke down in tears. And then we put together her speech.
Wow.
And it was rock. Those are the ones, it's not the ones that are writing the best-selling books. It's not the ones, it's those everyday people are the ones that really inspire me. My daughter inspires me, and she's been on this journey with me for a while. And yesterday we went to lunch, and we do a weekly lunch. We at least try to get together once a week. And this waitress at this place we go to, we've just formed a great connection.
Yeah.
And my daughter's into crystals, and you really can't see back here, but so am I now. She's got me into crystals and different stuff. And this waitress couldn't wait to show her that somebody had given her a little smoky quartz crystal. And so she was asking her about what did it mean and what was the power of it. And my daughter, of course, she's just an expert in all this.
Yeah.
And the waitress says, "Oh, well, I'm going to Mexico this week. It's my birthday, and I'm going to travel." And so part of our weekly usually trip is to the crystal shop, because she buys crystals weekly, and she had to go pick up her order. And there was something that came to me as this gal was talking. And my daughter just looked at me. She goes, I know, Dad, I'm going to buy her something. And we were just so connected.
Yeah.
And she went and she bought her a little cage to put that crystal in, to put around her neck, to travel with. She brought her a bracelet for protection.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And we brought it back to her before we left. And she came back and she's like, oh, did you forget something? And she brought out this package, and this girl was almost in tears.
Yeah.
And all she could say is, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do that. And my daughter goes, if I would have had to do it, I wouldn't have.
Absolutely.
Like, So those are the people that inspire me to be that better person.
Yeah. And just wanting to make a difference, a positive difference in someone's life is just, it's a gift. So absolutely. Let's talk about, the great leaders that you've seen. So, you've been inspired by, the people making a difference in their own lives is the way that I would look at that. But when we look at through history and we look at today, who are the great leaders? What are some of the traits that you believe leaders should possess, that they need to possess?
Well, if we go back to the thing about leadership as influence, in order to influence, I have to care. I have to connect. I have to be empathetic. I have to listen. I've got to suspend judgment. And this was part of my leadership journey years ago was I had to suspend the right to be right.
Okay. Yep.
And that was tough for me because I like to be right.
Yeah. It's one of the challenges we all face, isn't it?
One of the challenges. And at the time I was leading a group of volunteer firefighters, and I realized that I wasn't right. And even if I was, suspending that opened up my mind for different people's ideas to see it differently. And when we're right, and let's look at the political situation, let's look at society today, that, everybody is positioned in a right or wrong. Yeah. I'm right, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And there's no compromise there. There's no way that I can even look at your view because I'm right.
Yeah. Yep,
and so I think one of the greatest things a great leader, a great influence has to have is that ability to be in connection with and open their mind and contemplate and look at Scott Fay, right? There's a great leader that has influenced me most of my life is how do you look at the different sides of the beach ball?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's different colors all the way around it.
Yeah.
But if I'm only operating in my paradigm,
Yeah. The world has become a very binary place, and that's no more evident than on social media platforms like Twitter. You've either got that side or you've got that side. And, there's so many statistics out there today, Bob, that people have lost friendships because of the way someone has commented on a political post. Yep. And I mean, that's ridiculous. That is really ridiculous. But that's the world that we're living. People say, I'm right. And anyone who doesn't think that way has got to be wrong. And they've got to be cast aside from my life. And, how many great people, how many great friendships, how many great relationships are going by the wayside because relationships, as we know, relationships aren't binary. It's a caring platform. Hey, tell me a little bit about, now you've had some challenges, and tell me about how you deal with those challenges, the inevitable troughs that we face. Tell me about potentially what your relationship with failure is, those ups and downs. How do you lead yourself through those aspects?
Well, I read a book, and it's back here on my shelf. Again, another book I was introduced to about 6 months ago by Eckhart Tolle called The Power of Now.
Yeah.
And what he says in there is there are no obstacles. There are no problems. There's only opportunities. There's circumstances. It's a circumstance. The political situation today, the voting today is a circumstance. You see it or somebody else sees it as a problem, right? We talked about somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose. For one, that's going to be a problem. No, it's just a circumstance. It is how do we take that circumstance and put it into our life and make it work for us? And that's how I've done. I mean, again, this last 18 months for me, between health issues, relationship issues, financial issues,
Yeah.
I mean, all of these things. We had Toastmasters this morning, and the theme of Toastmasters was gratitude, was giving thanks. Thanksgiving in the United States is coming here, right? And I'm thankful. I'm grateful for COVID. I really am. Because for me, it has had me step back and really look at my life. It has revealed things in my life that probably would not have been revealed if it wasn't for COVID.
Yeah.
It has shown me things. So I look at, and as a coach, how many people do you work with that say, oh, I wish that wouldn't have ever happened to me? I absolutely know and believe the man I am today, making an impact and a difference in the world today, is because I've went through all of that.
Yeah.
The successes and the failures. And I think the biggest thing for me is I don't look at myself as a failure. It's a circumstance. It's something that happened.
Yeah.
But if you dig into the mind, it's the only way we learn.
Absolutely.
We learn when we fail. Think about when we're a baby, right? How'd you learn to walk? You fell down, you got up, you fell down, you got up. You know, you didn't say, oh, well, I guess you can walk, but I can't.
Actually,
people are so fearful of failure.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
They don't want to be a failure.
Yeah, I spoke with Max Story on the podcast as well, Robert, and he was sharing a similar story in respect of babies when they're learning to walk. You don't hear anyone sitting down watching a child start to work or walk or working through that process. You don't hear people saying, oh, that baby's failing. They always say they're learning to walk, always. And that's the way we should be approaching things. And I love that concept with that you shared with Eckhart Tolle. It's a pretty powerful book, that one. And in all honesty, I haven't read the whole thing because it really is deep. You've got to sort of digest it. You've got to be ready for some of the messages. And I'm slowly plodding my way through that one because you do have to be ready, as you know.
Well, again, let's come back to what I was talking about is we are this is part of the transformation that I've gone through and starting to realize. We as human race have become almost what's called homogenized. Yeah. We want everybody to be the same.
Yeah.
We're not created the same. We're created, everybody is unique. But we're conditioned from the minute we're born, we're conditioned in a certain way. By our parents, by our grandparents, by our friends, by our family. We're conditioned all that. And that takes that true I am, that true uniqueness in me, and starts to do what with it? Pushing it down.
Yeah.
If for somebody like me that had such a childhood that was so dysfunctional, so violent, so everything else, one of the things for me is emotions.
Yeah.
I suppress my emotions and my intuition. Because as a child, I would see something happen, I would ask about it, and I'd be told something different. Okay. And after a while, as a child, you go, well, are they right or am I right? Well, they're the parents. Of course, they've got to be right. It means I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And here's where I find who I'm starting to attract as clients now are people our age that all of a sudden are going, boy, there's got to be something else here with life. Like, is this all there is? What? And that's what I love now to dig and uncover is to really discover that, the meat, the juice of who we are, the essence of who we are. And it's never too, well, it is. I mean, when they close the lid, it's too late, right?
Yeah.
Or it's not, right? If you want to, and I'm getting into some of this other kind of work too, is does the soul go somewhere else and come back again, right?
Yeah.
But it's not too late.
Yeah.
It's not too late.
Yeah.
One of my coaching clients is younger, and he's like, oh, God, I think he's like 32 or something like that. He goes, oh, I just, it's like, I'm like 32, dude. I'm just discovering this stuff at 60 and you're discovering at 32. Look at what you have ahead of you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the perspective, isn't it? And then and for us, I guess it's part of that process of saying, I wish I knew what I knew now back when I was 32, but the reality is we know it now. So, Robert, what's the book that's had the biggest impact on you?
Honestly, I think it's The Power of Now.
The Power of Now, the one that you're into now. That's awesome. Yeah.
It really showed me, and I'm reading his other one called, and I'm going to give you a caveat to that, but is it called New World or something like that? But it's other, but the other one, the other two, and I'm going to slide back here real quick. That really, started this journey about probably 6 months ago was Michael Singer, The Untethered Soul.
Okay.
And The Surrender Project.
Okay.
Or The Surrender Experiment. And reading Untethered Soul really, really made me it had me get in touch with my soul. And how tied up, how conditioned it was. And then The Surrender Experiment is just that. It's about surrendering.
Yeah.
It's about realizing that, for me anyway, that in The Power of Now kind of extends that, is that control is an illusion. Control is an illusion.
Yeah.
Right? And The Power of Now has me realize that the only thing we have is right now.
Yeah.
But most people live where? They live there.
Yeah.
I wish that wouldn't have happened, or God, if I could go back. Or they live there looking, how do I not do it again? Or how do I, and what they miss is now.
Yeah.
And really all we ever have is right now.
Yeah.
And even when we get to the future, guess what we have?
Now.
And people don't see that. And when I get into a conversation about that like this with folks, they just kind of like, because they don't live. We're tied to our cell phones.
Yeah.
We're tied to, those kind of things that keep us so disconnected from the right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's amazing the juiciness of life that comes when you are present.
Now, this is going to seem a really strange question based on what we've just talked about, but what's the vision for you going forward, Robert? I almost slipped up there too. I almost called you Bob.
And it's okay. And for listeners, so that's been part of my journey. Is Tony has known me as Bob for years, and part of my journey is I have now went back to my given name of Robert. That could be a whole podcast probably we could do on that one, but it's not a problem, Tony. I'll tell you, my vision, unlike most people of what they want to do, is I truly want to be the best that I can be right now as I'm designed.
Okay.
That's the vision.
Yeah.
And that happens right now.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to realize that I'm living my vision right now.
Excellent.
Talking with you, doing what I'm doing, impacting the world, whoever listens to this, that's my calling.
Yeah.
That's as I've dug into human design, my calling is to be able to impact society for the greater good. Yeah. That's how I'm designed. And that, at first you're like, ooh, it kind of gives me goosebumps, and am I worthy of that? Or am I good? Trust me, I've had all those conversations. But when you sit down and really look at the way we're designed for a purpose.
Yeah.
And that's to make an impact in some way. It's not to do something. It really is to be. That's why, we joke about it. That's why we're called human beings. And a friend of mine used to, get so frustrated with me because they'd say, can't you just be? Can't you? Because I was always like you. Oh, what's next? What's next? I was a planner. What's next? What's next? I was never in the moment.
Yeah.
And it's so cool when you're in the moment. So that's my vision. And I've got you can't see it, but on my computer, I've got a little sticky note that says, what is my relationship with the present moment?
Wow.
Because we tend to go where?
Yeah.
I had something that happened to me this morning that was a pretty emotional impact and everything else. And before it would have derailed me totally. Just like for days. But I'm like, okay, got through it, cleaned up the mess, figured things out, looked at both sides of it, realized that the universe has given me an opportunity to close some more doors.
Excellent.
And
Excellent.
it was kind of interesting. So again, that's how I handle failure, is to look at what's the opportunity here.
Yeah, that relationship with present, that's a powerful piece of advice there for our listeners. Robert, I know that we've got a bit of a time schedule, so is there anything that I haven't asked you that I should have asked you?
One of the things I've learned,
Yeah.
and this is so funny, Tony, is that you're right, is, we talk about living in the moment and now, but here's the thing with my design is truth doesn't come to me in the now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Truth comes to me over time because I'm designed as an emotional being. That's my quote authority.
Yeah.
Which means I have to have time to like let it, and then. So your thing is, well, what you haven't asked me? I'm like, well, and so for me, I'm really learning how to, and I may not get an answer for a week, and I may not get an answer, or I may have an answer for you right now. So really, for me, is it's just being, just really, and for your listeners is find somebody that can help you. And if I'm the person, awesome, that can help you discover who you are, who you're designed to be. Yeah. And that would be that'd be a nugget or a tidbit, which doesn't answer your question about what you haven't asked me. It's an answer to one that wasn't out there. How's that?
Absolutely. Robert, how can people connect with you?
Yeah. So you can find my website at www.focuspointsolution, not solution, solution.com, or just send me an email, robert@focuspointsolution. If you do go to the website, there is a complimentary I call it a focus session that we can kind of talk and discuss a little bit to see if maybe coaching is right for you, or I can give some, some guidance, that kind of thing during that session. But I would absolutely love to do that.
Excellent. Robert, thank you for your time today. It's been awesome reconnecting. It's been awesome having that conversation. You've given me so much insight into your journey, into where you are right now. And I know that the people, our listeners, will be very grateful and thankful for what you've shared. So thank you very much, Robert. I was almost slipped up again.
It's okay. It's all right.
Yeah. And
but you're catching yourself. See, you're catching yourself.
Yeah.
So, right, other than conscious wants to say Bob, but now you're like, whoop, right? So perfect. Yep. And that's how we do it, right? And we talked about it in the thing. It's Carl Jung said, until we make the unconscious conscious, it'll really like we call it fate. Yeah. And so it's all of this stuff I've discovered has been running my life in the unconscious, or I like to say other than conscious, for 60 years. Yeah. Right. And now it's coming out. Now I can do something with it. Now I can't, it's not that I can control it. Yeah. But now I have better choices. I have better options. I'm more informed. Yeah. I guess a question would be, do you ever go backwards? And, that's what's coming up to me that you haven't asked is, because a lot of people, and I've got one coaching client that does that. We'll go forward about 5 steps and then we'll fall back about 2 every once in a while. And absolutely. Yeah. But what do you do with that? How do you evaluate it? Do you learn from it? Do you beat yourself up with it? Do you, how do you do that? And we all do all of those, but it really is about, and this is something I've learned from a coach friend of mine. I told you my emotions have been so suppressed, is we have to embrace our emotions. Yeah. And both sides. We're told to look at our good, but, suppress our bad. Those negative emotions we're told to do, but we have to have both. It's all a whole. Yeah. And I've learned that is when that stuff comes up, be with it. Don't suppress it. Don't push it down. Be with it and work through that. And so that's part of what I find with that. When I go backwards, it's typically some of that emotion coming up I've suppressed, that's still hanging out there, right?
Yeah,
That still is old. But yeah, that would probably be a question: is what happens when you fall backwards?
Excellent, Robert. It's been as I said, it's a pleasure having you on the Today's Leader podcast, and I look forward to staying connected for the future.
I hope so too. Now, remind me, Tony, where, because I don't remember where you are down under.
I'm in Brisbane, Queensland.
That's right.
Beautiful day coming into last month of spring here, coming into our summer months. So
Yes.
beautiful day, nice and clear blue skies. Been for my walk. It's just the Queensland lifestyle, Robert.
Well, and I don't know whether you knew this or not, but I spent time down in working with the firefighters down around Sydney and down around that area, Melbourne and stuff.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, and I love Australia, and I'd love to come back. I love the people, just so loving, and it's just awesome.
Absolutely. Well, we'd welcome you back once the international borders are reopened for us.
Yeah, it's like I'm looking and go, okay, where can I go? It'll all come back, or it won't, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is.
It's out of our control. So at this stage, I have no plans for international travel. I'm thinking maybe 2022, but it's just a date. Someone's going to tell me whether that's right or wrong. So I can't make the choice. Anyway, thanks,
Tony,
Bob.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate it. I'm so honored.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Join the group of people impacted by seriously simple stuff to get you unstuck. The first book by Tony Coach Curl. Available at Amazon, Tony's Simple Stuff provides the tool for people to master your life and aspirations. 20% of every book sold supports Carter's cause.
Robert spoke during the interview of the book from Eckhart Tolle called The Power of Now, and it's been a primary impact for Robert and how it has really enabled him to live in each moment and to be a powerful presence in each moment. Now, the ability to live and be conscious in every moment is something that most people can benefit from learning a little bit more about. But as I said during the course of the interview, The Power of Now is just one of those books that maybe you will read it cover to cover, or maybe, like me, you'll take it step by step, because it really is a confronting and a challenging way for us to live, because our world is filled with distractions nowadays. And for suddenly to be challenged by the concept of needing to live in the now, not necessarily setting too much credence in long-term visionary, etc., can be really quite challenging. But the ability to live and be conscious in every moment is absolutely vital skill in today's world. Now, often when we may be in discussion with someone, and during that discussion, quite often we'll check our email, our phone, we'll log on to Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever the case may be. Now, the research that's been conducted in this area actually tells us that by doing that, automatically our mental capacity in the original conversation has reduced by 30%, right? So we're talking to someone, we're fully present, it's 100%. The minute we go away from that fully present scenario and we move on and do something else, it reduces our mental capacity by 30%. Now imagine that as your error rate, 30%. Or on your best day that you're only 70% effective. Now this is one of the reasons why The Power of Now is such a powerful book to get into. Because if you can improve that, concept of being fully present within the moment, you will see an automatic lift in the way that you perform. It was really awesome chatting with Robert. I've got his LinkedIn profile in the show notes, as well as the link back to his Focus Point Solution website. I hope you took as much away from Robert as what I did. And, as always, thanks for tuning in. If you did like it, please rate, review, and all of those things. Because in today's disruptive world, good leadership skills will always stand you in great stead. If you're looking to build better leadership skills, check out the Today's Leader website at todaysleader.com.au. Our website showcases the podcast and our magazine, and we're pleased to say that we are now offering our masterminds through the Today's Leader website. Our masterminds are, of course, supported by our network sites, because Today's Leader is a collective mindset for the leaders and the entrepreneurs of today, forging the path of success for tomorrow. They have the mindset to make a difference and the ability to create an impact. Think and Grow Business hosts our Today's Leader Masterminds, Think and Grow Business, where we focus on personal, professional and business growth. Book your free 30-minute discovery call right from the homepage at thinkandgrowbusiness.com.au. Don't forget the Coach Call Academy is my online academy. We have over 75 programs that will help you build a better you. So you can join for just $1 for the first month. The Academy equips you and enhances your mindset, your leadership and your business. And you can check it out at thecoachcallacademy.com. You are standing stronger, braver and wiser. Don't forget the golden rule. You know what it is. Don't be an arsehole. I'll see you next time.